Hi there. Perfect, beautiful, sunny day, and we're going to enjoy this time together. I'm looking forward to encouraging you and getting something going if you're looking forward to making some type of change in a positive way. Last episode, we talked about what's up and coming, which is the 30-day weight loss challenge, April 1st to April 30th. And one of the things that I wanted to clarify was the idea of maybe possibly just making one change rather than all the changes. Most of you know that I've been living SOS free for the last going on 4 months, three and a half months, maybe, somewhere between 3 and 4 months. And SOS means sugar, oil, and salt, and it has changed my life in such a profound and positive way. But that seems extreme to most people. The one thing that I will say is not only did I remove sugar, oil, and salts, I also removed alcohol and caffeine. Not that I was ever very big into alcohol, but enough to where it bothered me. And while I drank a glass of wine here and there, or a gin and tonic here and there, it would also drop inhibitions and it would allow me to feel safe eating anything I wanted, and then I would binge. So with that being said, I stripped myself of all those things, and it has been positive to say the least. And if that's you and you can do that, wonderful. But if it's not, and you're the type of person that just removing one thing, it might be sugar, it might be just the oils, or it might be the salts, it might be the animal products, the cheese, the dairy products, whatever it is that affects you, because a lot of those foods are super harmful to us. If there's one thing you can remove for a period of 30 days, maybe that's your own personal challenge and you get a win out of that. So maybe think about what are the things that you can remove that you feel comfortable committing to for a period of 30 days, and that becomes your very own challenge. So I'll get more into the details of that later. The other day I ran into a good friend of mine while I was doing my groceries. I go to Whole Foods twice a week to pick up fresh load of fruits and vegetables and any other staple that I may need. And I ran into an old client of mine, and often I run into people at Whole Foods and they're always looking into my grocery cart because they watch me on Facebook, and they kind of want to see that I am towing the line. And it's really sweet because they're like, wow, look at what's in your cart. It's so colorful, it's different than my cart. And I get all these cool reactions, besides the fact that people say, wow, you look great, or you lost all this weight, good for you. And I have a lot of cheerleaders and people supporting me. With cheerleaders also comes the other people that are like, oh my God, I could never do that. I could never eat that way. They just put themselves down and they just don't believe they can, when I believe they can. But I did run into this one friend, and she said to me, I can never do that, Jerry. I can never do what you're doing. And I said to her, I said, you totally can. You totally can do what I'm doing. Maybe not the same way that I'm doing it. And she kept shaking her head. And as she was gonna walk away, she says, but I stopped drinking alcohol 20 days ago. And I paused for a second and I asked her, I said, so why did you do that? And she says, well, and she literally named every single thing that I removed from my diet. She says, if you can stop eating sugar, oil, salt, if you can remove alcohol and caffeine and stop eating animal products, if you can do all of those things, I can do one thing. And she literally left me stumped, because she was waving goodbye, and as she waved goodbye, I literally stood there for probably 2 minutes processing what just happened, and how amazing it was that something that I was doing had an impact on somebody to where it made them want to make a change. And to me, that was super, super profound, which keeps me in the game. It keeps me wanting to do more of this, and it keeps me wanting to help you. If you need help, stay tuned, stay connected, subscribe, like, hit the little bell so you see when we're posting something new, and stay close, because I've had the help and support of many people that are around me and cheering me on. And I love to be at least one of the people that helps, supports, and cheer you on. It's a two-way street. So I want to talk a little bit about mindsets and habits that are required for being able to go SOS free, or to remove one of these things. You have to work on self-talk. You know, Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Consider that you can, and you can no matter what. You've gone through things that are much more challenging than taking one thing off of your plate, like sugar, oil, and salt. So it's not as difficult as we make it. We just tell ourselves that it is, and if we tell ourselves we can't, we are absolutely right, we can't. And I hear that so often. Every time I run into someone that wants to try to cheer me on, the next words are, I could never do that. And I can't fight with that. I can't combat that. All I can say is, oh, yes, you can. Oh, no, I cannot. Oh, yes, you can. No, I cannot. Yes, you can. No, I cannot. And it just goes around and round and round. And then I start explaining a little bit about my story and how it got this way. And now what I really go into is explaining how I don't crave sugar, oil, or salt, caffeine, animal products, cheese. I don't crave those things the way that I craved them at the beginning. I'm not telling you it's perfect. I'm not telling you I don't crave things. You know, when I go to dinner with people and they are ordering, you know, I went to Las Vegas with my friends for Super Bowl. That was challenging when there's 10 of us around this big table at an Italian restaurant, and they're passing veal parmesan and all the things that I used to eat before, spaghetti and meatballs, all these things. You know, I wasn't thinking about animals, the environment. I wasn't thinking about some of the other things that are becoming important to me now. I was literally thinking about the memories that those smells were causing, and how challenging it was to just pause and realize that I didn't need any of that. But I was also smart. I went out to dinner with them while being full. I had my own dinner before even going out to that restaurant. I was prepared for that, and hunger wouldn't have been the reason why I would have eaten anything. And at the restaurant, I ordered a plain salad with extra veggies of every kind, and I still ate and had an amazing time with them. And what I found about these guys, as much as we are all guys and we want to razz each other and this and that, what I found during this evening, it was an overwhelming feeling of support. And also what I found was an overwhelming feeling that they were so impressed about what I was doing that they wanted to be doing it too. And they were questioning whether they should and whether they could. And I found that really positive and also affirming. So I want to go forward and tell you that this whole process, this whole journey started in the mind. You know, I'm over 55 pounds down. Again, I've told you before, the full journey, and I use hiking as a metaphor. The full journey is about 100 pounds. And where the journey begins for me is once I reach optimal health. Once I reach what my doctor feels is a reasonable body mass index, muscle to body mass ratio. And I want to get all that information from the people at True North. I keep putting them in your ear because they've been super encouraging in this process. They get exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I do what they say because it's been very good and positive for me. I have even stayed there for 4 nights about a month ago, and it was so wonderful to have people cook for you 3 times a day and check up on you. You'd have doctors check up on you twice a day to make sure that you can get any questions answered, make sure that everything is going forward smoothly, and it was an experience unlike anything I've ever had. I want to do it again for a longer period of time. I may even go back out and do a water and juice fast. I'm really interested in that in the near future. So one of the things that I want you to consider is your past, because for a lot of us, the past is what keeps us stuck in moving forward and letting go. So consider that your past and any trauma or things that you have been through that have put you where you are today, those could be used as a springboard to move forward and get unstuck. So I wrote this down. Our past is the experience that has led us to the person we are today. Today we continue to build the best version of ourselves. And that's the one thing that we have to keep reaffirming in our mind. Because for me, a lot of times I can go into negative self-talk and I can sabotage my own success because I find that the work is challenging, but in that challenge is where I get the reward. So make sure that once you get your wins or something positive happens, that you do something to feed your mind, something that affects your dopamine in a positive way, whether it is high-fiving your significant other, sending a text to somebody you care about and say, I got this win. Make sure that you're surrounded by the 5 people. I always say, we are the sum of the 5 people. We are the sum of the 5 people we surround ourselves with. So we are the average of the sum of the 5 people we surround ourselves with. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with positive people and people that are uplifting. Every one of us has people in our lives that are not like that. And we have to take small doses of those people because they do affect us and they have an effect on our goals and possibly even maybe sabotaging them. So that becomes the next thing that I wanted, that becomes part of the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the noise. There's a lot of noise and there's a lot of Monday night quarterback, people that just want to give you their advice because they know the most about it. Do your own research. Find your own way and find what is the healthiest way of eating for a human being, not just for you. What is the healthiest way of eating so then you don't have to be addicted to the other things like caffeine, alcohol, bread, dairy, all the things that affect you negatively. The one thing that I wanted to also talk a little bit about today was habits. Create positive habits for yourself. We are best suited when we have a routine. To have a routine, we need to build habits. I learned recently from, one of the world's highest requested motivational speaker. Her name is Mel Robins, and she has a great podcast. And Mel says that we need to use our triggers to our advantage. So if you can create a trigger, for me, for example, in the morning, my trigger to get out of bed is literally that I have to go to the restroom. So most of us wake up in the morning, the first thing we have to do is we have to go relieve ourselves of all the water that we drank the day before. So for me, that's a trigger. The second trigger for me to get up in the morning is the clothes that are sitting on a chair right next to the bed, waiting for me to put layers on to go out and walk in the cold. So the second trigger is the clothes are waiting for me to put them on, while the clothes are literally flipping a finger at me and saying, put me on, you're not going to the bathroom, you're not going to go pee until you put me on. So I make sure that I get dressed before I even make it to the bathroom because I want to get through that trigger. So once I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, I take my vitamins, and I drink a big glass of water. That's the routine, nailed down. I've been doing it for 4 months now. Then I put the leashes on the dogs, and I head out that golf course and I just walk. And I walk whether it's pouring, storming. There are days that the dogs have refused to go on a walk with me because it's raining or it's hailing. But I am not gonna go back to bed. It's just not gonna happen. And one thing that Robin became very successful for was the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 model, which is basically a rocket ship taking off. So if you feel like the blankets in bed are just overtaking you and you have a hard time in the morning getting out of bed, listen to her TED Talk on the 5-4-3-2-1. Listen to her podcast, and she talks about it. Before you get to any activity that you might be resisting, say 5-4-3-2-1, and then just do it. Whatever it is. If you're afraid of public speaking, 5-4-3-2-1, just do it. If you're resisting going to the gym, 5-4-3-2-1, get in the car and go. 5-4-3-2-1, and it just gets you in the mindset of, by the time you get to 1, excuses are off the table, your past is off the table, anything that may be holding you back, that negative self-talk, that voice. There's a reason why that podcast became one of the highest watched TED Talks, that TED Talk was one of the highest watched episodes in the world. It may have been one of the highest watched anything in the world, with over 30 million views, because it affected that many people in such a positive way. So then you go do your activity, and then the reward, you have to come up with whatever is your own reward at the end of that activity. So after I get in from the hail, the rain, or anything, I walk up to my wife Susan and I give her a big high five. It puts a smile on her face when I'm high-fiving her, and it's because she's proud of me that I got it done, but she also understands that I need that high five, that high five feeds what I'm trying to do every day to reaffirm that I'm on the right path. So make sure that you have somebody in there to high five you, and if not, send me your high five over the internet. Hit me on Facebook with a high five, or on this podcast, whatever it is that I can respond back to you with a high five. You'll understand why it works when you do it. Mel Robins also mentions that there are studies that there's a basketball team that they couldn't figure out why they were winning at the rate that they were winning at. And on the study, what came out of it was that they were the team that high-fived the most during the beginning of the game, during halftime, and at the end of the game. These guys were filled with adrenaline from the dopamine they were getting from high-fiving. So they knew that all the work that they were putting in, whatever they were doing that was miserable at practice, was reaffirmed and confirmed that it was on the right track by giving each other a high five. So I want you to consider high-fiving. The other thing that I want you to think about is the word grit. There's a reason why the Navy SEALs are able to do so much more than the average person. And it really comes out of grit. They're taught grit. They're taught that literally it takes one foot in front of the other. And they also realize that most of us could do 7 or 8 times more today than we believe we can. So today, if we can run 1 mile, we can probably run 6 or 7. So consider that. If we can run 1 mile, we can run 6 or 7. I'm not telling you to go out there and run 7 miles without training. You don't have to. But if your life depended on it, you can. So you can do so much more. So what I would encourage you to do is, when you finish a task, give yourself just a little bit extra. Do a little bit more. If you can do 5 push-ups, go for the 6th one. If you can do 1 pull-up, go for the 2nd one. Every time, go for the additional. When I get on the treadmill, I'm doing some training for a Mount Whitney summit that I'm going to do in July. And what I'm doing now is, the treadmill goes up to 18, at least the one that I work out on at the gym goes up to 18. So I do most of my walk between a 5 and a 10 incline. But when I get to the end, I'm at an 18. And when I'm out of fuel, I make sure I do 1 or 2 more minutes. It is just that way to build and develop grit. If you're going to go out in the morning and you're going to walk 20 minutes, do another 5 minutes. Anything that you do, do just a little bit more every single time. It's a foundation for building on top of blocks, building on top of blocks, but that are built on a solid foundation, because you didn't start running the 7 miles right off the gate and just really hurt yourself, because you could do it if your life depended on it. And that's pretty much the end of today's episode. I just wanted to ask you to stay connected. Know that I'm here, and I'm going to be here every week, every step of the way. I hope you subscribed, like, and hit the little bell. And today's special message is one that was said by Bruce Lee a long time ago. Bruce Lee said that a warrior is only an individual with focus.